Hi, I'm Gayla Scrivener, ex-corporate girl and now work-from-anywhere adventure seeker. Creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle isn't without its challenges, but those challenges certainly don't overshadow all the many benefits. What breaks my heart is seeing folks stuck and unhappy in a career and lifestyle when they want more out of life. I believe that we all have the opportunity to create the life of our dreams and earn a living in fun and creative ways to make our dream lifestyle a reality. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. In this weekly podcast, I share experiences when it comes to growing a lifestyle business through guest interviews, content marketing experience and perspectives, virtual leadership lessons, and I'll even throw in some travel adventures. My hope is through all the interviews, the tips, advice, and personal experience, you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going and creating your dream lifestyle. Life's an adventure. There's no time but the present to live life to the fullest. Hi there, and welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here today. I was thinking about some things about the hurdles when it comes to working from anywhere. I think I'm feeling those hurdles right now because I'm getting ready to be in a season of travel. This is on the top of my mind, so I thought I'd just share a little bit. Building a lifestyle business or work from anywhere business isn't as glamorous as what you see on the Instagram feed, right? You may see either my feed or other people's feed, this glorious vision of what it means to work from anywhere. And if you're seeing those wonderful Instagram photos and thinking that it's always like that, then you're mistaken. And if you think that the challenges or obstacles that you're facing right now in trying to achieve this wonderfully glamorous work from anywhere type of lifestyle and that you're doing it wrong because you're not living the life of what you're seeing in the Instagram feed, I have to say you're doing things right. Because not that I don't think I have very many, if any, glamorous type photos on my Instagram feed, but the challenges and obstacles are getting you moving to figuring things out to get you where you want to be. So the challenges that you're facing, I think it's Marie Forleo that says everything is figure-outable. I think I'm saying it wrong. Not as many syllables, too many syllables, I don't know. But the thing about a lifestyle business, even though you may see all those perfect images of folks living their dreams, this carefree and stress-free dream, the reality is that to achieve this type of lifestyle, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to figure things out. And creating the lifestyle you want does not happen overnight. And sometimes you find out that the grass isn't always greener or your priorities might have changed. So this type of lifestyle isn't for everybody. And my definition of a lifestyle business includes being able to work from practically anywhere. Your picture of why you're wanting to grow and build your own lifestyle business, it may be different. I like the idea of nomadic travel. Seeing the country at my own pace. I like vehicle-based living arrangement, basically camping and living out of my car or suburban in my case. Now my team has other visions of what it means to work from anywhere, and their goals are different than mine. One wants to work from home to be there to raise her 3 young children, and it breaks her heart to have to work at a job where she's required to have daycare. First of all, when she was looking for an outside of the home job, it was like having somebody else raise her kids while she was at the office all the time. And second, it doesn't make financial sense for her that the daycare expense would basically eat up most, if not all, of her salary. So she's just working to have somebody else raise her kids and not any more beyond that. Another team member is entering a different phase of her life. She's entering the empty nest phase. Although with her kids going off and making their new lives for themselves, she could go out and seek a traditional full-time job. But she lives in a very rural area, and the jobs close by for her geographically are far and few between. For her, having no commute and working from her home office is her ideal vision of work from anywhere. That, coupled with her love of travel, she sees herself traveling more in the future. Probably not like my travels, but traveling just the same. Her work from anywhere lifestyle can give her more options of having extended stays in different areas without the worry of hurrying home to get back to work. Now, whatever your vision is of what your life would look like with a work from anywhere type business, mindset is 90% of the hurdle. During 2020, many were forced to change their work environment, leave their traditional office, and be plopped into working from home. And it left a lot of people uneasy, and there was a lot of turmoil and figuring things out at that time. Adapting quickly was stressful but necessary. Over time, new habits were formed, and people just figured out how to make it work. I did that on purpose way back in 2012. Now that many offices had opened up again, some don't want to go back to the old way. On the flip side, some are welcoming getting out of their home office and back to a sense of what they call normal. How about you? What side of the fence are you on? And there's no wrong answer here. It's simply what you prefer. And either way you choose, it's a part of how you'll craft your lifestyle. So, getting back to the picture-perfect Instagram images of a work from anywhere lifestyle, I'd like to share a few challenges that I've faced or am facing right now so that you'll have some perspective that if you're facing similar obstacles, you're not alone. Don't worry. Now, Robert, my husband, and I love nomadic vehicle-based travel. Ideally, we don't have to be at a destination at a particular time, or we don't even have to be at a particular destination for that matter. We're just nomadic. Oftentimes, we don't know exactly where we're going to be and when we'll be there. We just point our vehicle in a direction and just drive. Our ideal is to travel slow, just a few hours a day, and to enjoy different scenery and have a space in our day to do what we need to for work. And those are our workations or our nomadic type travel. But this year, we intentionally planned and we aren't doing that type of travel. And I'm a little bummed out about that, but we had decided that this was a year that we would not be nomadic and would stay put for the most part as we focused on a growth spurt with our business. Now, saying that, travel isn't off the table this year. Our calendar became filled with specific events that are important to us to attend and are making our August through October extremely busy. So I'm looking at my calendar at this very moment, and I'm a bit overwhelmed at what it's looking like. This type of travel is so much different than the nomadic type of travel that Robert and I enjoy. It's much quicker, it's hectic, and it's more like hurry up and get to the destination than experiencing the journey and that type of travel. So I'm getting a little overwhelmed. And by the time you listen to this, or by the time this episode publishes, I'm on our first trip, and the steamroller won't be stopping until October. But for the last several months, here's what's been happening. I've gotten into a home office routine. I get up at a certain time, I have my coffee, I have my morning routine, I have my work schedule, and it's pretty routine. I've gotten back into that mindset of sitting still. And now that my desk is going to be in all sorts of places for the next 8 weeks, it's going to take some adjustment. And my mindset and my routine is going to change, and it's going to take a few days to get, and it may take a week, I don't know, for this mind shift of a different pace. And here are a few challenges that over the years of nomadic travel and especially now, right now in this season of travel, that I must face and have to figure out and deal with. And these are not glamorous at all. And the first one that's on the top of my list is weather in general. But specifically, it's way too hot to think. Conversely, in the past, it has been way too cold where my fingers felt like they were frozen to the keyboard. But anyway, weather is at the top of my mind because this is the first one on my list because I just had a weekend car camping event in our Suburban, and it was well over 90 degrees. And with the Missouri humidity and no breeze, it was miserable. And see, there is no air conditioner in the Suburban. Besides, it's not practical to have it idling nonstop just for the AC. Also, because I like to camp and being outdoors should not bother me. And it doesn't for the most part. You need to kind of be acclimated. But this past weekend reminded me how hard it is to think and to be productive in extreme temperatures. And in this case, when it was extremely hot. The heat itself is a distraction. I was tired. I was sweaty. I looked and felt like I was run over by a train. I should have taken an Instagram photo and I'm kind of embarrassed by that, but I was just tired and sweaty. Yuck. I had 2 conference calls that day, not video calls, thank goodness. Not video calls, just regular phone calls, but I needed my computer up and I needed to be away from the event of being indoors that we were attending, so I was in the Suburban. And that's one thing I learned. Sometimes traveling conditions warrant a phone call instead of a Zoom call. I purposefully said, Gayla may not be pretty this day, so I better do a phone call. And Zoom is so popular now, and many would rather Zoom than do a call nowadays. Back 2 years ago, it was like pulling teeth for anybody to do a Zoom call and be productive in that manner. Now it seems to be the opposite. It's like, you're not going to do Zoom? We're just going to do a regular call? It's an interesting scenario. There are times when traveling that a plain old phone call is so much better. Now, in this Suburban, I had 3 USB rechargeable fans just blowing at me, and the windows were down, and I was just trying to keep cool. But then, as I'm on this call, a lawnmower was busy at work during one of my calls, making yet another distraction that kept chipping away at my focus. And it's not an ideal office, but I made it work. I should have had like a cold, wet cloth on my neck and more water available while I was on those calls. If I had done that, perhaps I would not have developed a headache in that afternoon and just felt wiped out the rest of the day. So I didn't feel as long-term productive because the heat zapped it away. So taking into account the weather and being prepared for that is important. It's something to get used to again since, I'm used to a climate-controlled home office for the past several months, really. So planning ahead of tasks won't be enough during my upcoming trips. Also, keeping up with the weather forecast to know if I can work in the vehicle or if I need to find other places to work, like a library, for a blocked time frame. And by the way, you may see those idealistic pictures of sitting on the beach with your laptop, working really leisurely while sipping on a cocktail. While that may look good, the reality is that first of all, the computer screen is extremely hard to see when outside. Even when those so-called screen covers are supposed to help with glare, sand also is awful for a computer. Water's not very good for it either. Now, I've tried it firsthand, and it is more frustrating than productive, especially when you're doing graphic work. And you might as well just enjoy the beach, leave the computer in the bag, do something else that could be productive in a different way if you want to work from anywhere, like maybe read a book, write in an old-fashioned journal, Now, most of the time when I do computer work outside, I need to be sitting in the vehicle so that I can actually see the screen very well and get into this tunnel vision focus mode of that project that I'm doing right then. Or I'm under a canopy or situated just right where the trees are shading me just right. It really doesn't look that glamorous or inviting. Sometimes I have been known that I have put like a sweatshirt over my head and then over my laptop screen just to get that back glare off. I'm tired of looking in a mirror. It's almost like looking in a mirror. You just see yourself and not the screen. So, like I said, it doesn't look glamorous and it doesn't look inviting, but it is very doable. The number 2 thing is you have to take into consideration different noise. It can be noisy at home. It can be noisy anywhere. But sometimes you can't predict when the outside world will make conditions nearly impossible to accomplish a task. Not too long ago, Robert and I were traveling to an event. For the most part, I had the day off, but I had one call that I decided to keep because I felt it was important not to cancel it. I was leading that call, and it happened to be a Zoom call. I wanted to plan it that way, and it was with a couple of people on my team. We were driving around for a while to find good Wi-Fi service when a friend in the area offered us to come to his house and we could set up office there. Well, Robert and our friend, they would hang out while I did my call. That was great in theory. I was going to have lightning fast internet. Perfect. Didn't have to use my hotspot. But what ended up happening was that the setup was such that there was too much background noise for the others on the call to hear me. It was a bit echoey in the house, and the boys' voices carried a little bit more than they realized. And I became very, very distracted. My team became very, very distracted. Also, I think that it had something to do with the mic that I was using. And I think my Zoom call was actually, in hindsight, going to not the mic that was closest to my mouth, but one that was further away. So it could have been user error as well. But with the background noise distracting my thoughts and it was echoey for my team, we decided to turn off the Zoom, do a regular call, and we had the mission accomplished. We completed the call. It was a little bit stressful, but it was an ideal situation. I was glad that it wasn't a client call or something different where there was not as much leniency in my mind anyway. And the lesson from this is have a backup mic, or be sure to pack the good mic instead of the sucky one, and use my big bulky headphones during a call like this. It doesn't matter aesthetically having these little earbuds. Why don't I just have the big earphones that block out the noise around me? Aesthetics, I don't have to look pretty. It's my team. They love me however I look. At least I hope so. My lesson was to avoid Zoom calls on days that I'm on the move. Keep the calls to conferences and have the right mic and headphones set up. My number 3 challenge, communication. Specifically, communicating with Robert. Now, if you're traveling with someone and you also work on the go, communication is super important. And Robert and I travel together most of the time, and we have a really good, travel experience, and we like to experience adventure together. And rarely do we travel separately, especially the nomadic type travel. We're always together. So when he's focused on thinking of where to go and all the things about the vehicle, and he's the primary driver, I'm thinking about when should I schedule work around this travel. And he seems to always want to be on the road moving. And this is what I perceive anyway. And working requires a lot of working. Of what we do requires sitting still for a period of time and have focus time. Now, our first trips were super, super stressful on me because we weren't in sync with communication of what needed to be done when it came to work and how it could fit into the travel. And I admit all that stress was self-induced. I needed to come up with a different routine. but I had it stuck in my head in my old routine and did not verbalize to Robert what my needs were so that we could both coordinate the travel and work schedule together. I knew he grew tired of me saying, in fact, I think he always grows tired of me saying, I got to do this for work and that. But communication is a really big deal to alleviate some of the stress. But over time, through practice, things have gotten better. Robert and I tend to not have arguments very often. We kind of work that out. I may internalize, but I create stress for myself, and I recognize that. He has no idea that I'm stressed out about something unless I communicate that to him. And then he helps me through it. So it's all me. I know that. Over time, through practice of figuring out schedule, talking things over with Robert, my stress level has not been as high, and we're able to make the travel and the work. Makes sense, I guess. The work. And I'm always working on myself on my communication piece, as I'm fully aware that most of the stress comes with my work travel life is my own doing. I need to be more open with what needs to be accomplished, and we must work together to coordinate the logistics with making it work. So that's a continual work in progress. And as the business evolves and as we do different things, that communication piece is super important. The fourth challenge that I face is, I don't know how to exactly express this, is basically the work environment. Switching gears, so to speak. Waking up and being motivated when I'm on the road and not being in the ideal office setting. So in my office right now, in a home-based business, I have a regular bed. I wake up at a certain time. I don't even really set an alarm. I wake up at a certain time, which is extremely early, according to Robert. And I get up, I have my coffee, I do my thing, and I go to a desk, and I have a desk set up, and everything's just set up, and I have this routine. Well, the way that we travel, living out of our vehicle or camping in a tent, is certainly not the same as living in the house. And I'm an early morning person, and Robert sleeps longer than I do. I take that back. I usually go to sleep sooner than he does, and I get up earlier. He goes to bed later and gets up later. So we probably get the same amount of sleep, but anyway, with such close quarters in a tent, or in the bed setup that we have in the back of our Suburban, when I wake up, I am so worried about waking Robert up to shuffle around and get myself situated and crank up that computer and get going. Instead, I find myself just laying there really quiet and feeling a bit frustrated with myself that I'm wasting time, and I'm wasting some of that productivity time away. Now, for me, I think better and more clearly in the early morning hours. And then after about 2 p.m., typically my brain is done for the day for these complicated problem solving or doing certain creative tasks like writing. So I'm an early morning person. So my productivity is cranked in the early morning. And in that tent, or in the bed setup in the Suburban, the peacefulness of the early morning, I just love it. And I hate to break the silence by shuffling around. And besides, sometimes we take our dogs. And so if I make the slightest move, they're all ready to jump up and be taken out. That definitely will wake up Robert. Adjusting to a new morning routine when traveling is something to consider and to work on. Just recognizing that it won't be exactly the same as when you're stationary is important. It takes a few days of transition and to make a mental switch, and well, at least it does for me. So that's something that we're not doing the nomadic travel this year, but it's still, we're doing our fair share of camping and we'll be in hotels some of the time. So figuring out my work schedule, a little bit on my productivity time. And I may have to work a little bit to adjust my schedule because it won't necessarily be the ideal, but I can make it work. The fifth challenge and the fifth thing that I work on is being realistic with scheduling. Now, scheduling things when you're on the road will look different than when you're stationary. Your calendar becomes a lot more closed off when you're traveling. And I am getting better at looking ahead and rearranging routine calls if needed when I know that our travels will make it difficult to find the internet for that day. And it goes back to communication too, right? This is an area that I continually work on, communication with Robert to ask what he's planning in his head for scheduling of things and telling him that what I've got on my agenda, and together we make adjustments. And another thing, on an ongoing basis, I have availability on my calendar for folks to auto-schedule an appointment with me through Calendly. I have different appointment types for like podcast interviews or a strategy call, and I'm getting better at putting travel times on my calendar and mark those block that time for the travel and mark it as busy so that it syncs up with my Calendly account and it shows me unavailable during those times. It's terrible if you're planning on drive time and you have a podcast interview that slips right on in there. So I plan ahead on these travel times a lot more than I used to. I'm also getting better at booking blocked focus project times on my calendar, and those appointments with myself for project work mark me unavailable in Calendly automatically so that I can manage my meetings better and I can manage my projects better. And to many folks, my calendar is hugely overwhelming. But for me, it helps me to know what I need to be, where I need to be, and when, what I need to be doing, not just physically, but mentally. So the sixth thing, and this is the final thing that I'm going to talk about today, but this does not encompass all the challenges that come out of working from anywhere, but these are my top 6 right now that I'm working on as I go into this season of travel. Number 6 is, what kind of work can I do while driving down the road? What work can I do while riding down the road? You see, I'm usually the passenger in our travels, and Robert is the driver. Now, sometimes we will switch. Depends on the vehicle, depends on the destination, and just depends on his mood, I think. But since we have a lot of windshield time, there has to be a way I could use that windshield time to be more productive. But the issue is, I get car sick. Yep. For years, I would say that I could not do anything while traveling down the road. Well, something changed a few years back, and I started trying to train myself to get some amount of work done while traveling down the road. As with anything else, it's a matter of knowing what your limitations are and training yourself a little bit at a time. My biggest limitation is that I know I cannot work on curvy roads. I just can't. I just need to stop what I'm doing. I just need to stop looking down. Don't look down at the computer or a book or whatever, and just watch the road and enjoy the scenery. Point out stuff and converse with Robert. That's what I should be doing during the curvy roads. Besides, that's the most exciting time, the hilly, curvy roads. I love the scenery there. But when we're on long, straight roads, like interstates, or going across Kansas or Nebraska on most any road in those 2 states, I can crack open the computer and work on some projects. On interstates, for the most part, my hotspot works pretty well, and I have pretty good internet reception. On other highways, there can be big dead spots of no internet. So it becomes a matter of being really realistic of what types of work can be done on the road and where my mental focus can be. And I've experimented on different things on what I can do. And I tend to do more routine and repetitive stuff instead of tasks that require more focus on my part or more creativity. It's more of the routine stuff. And when using my computer down the road, you have to consider battery life. So for us, when the computer's battery is depleted, we have this inverter that we can charge the battery. And Robert doesn't let me use my battery Robert doesn't let me use my laptop when it's charging. And like at home, I have my laptop plugged in pretty much all the time as I'm using it, because then I have an unlimited supply of power, right? But on the road, he doesn't let me use my laptop while it's charging because he says it works the inverter too hard. And I can hear that fan, so I know it has to be true. And besides, he says it's hard to fill a bucket when there's a hole in it. Well, I can't argue with him there. It means that I'm using the laptop at the same time as I'm charging it. It just takes much, much longer for it to charge. So it's best to have focused time to do routine things until the battery is pretty much dead. Turn that computer totally off, plug it in, let it charge all the way up, and take a break. So it's like, it's that focused time, taking a mental break, which I should do more often in a home office, actually. Lately, I haven't been, over the past year when we've been traveling, I have not been doing much computer work while going down the road. Sometimes I would switch and try to, keep my body used to doing something, but I wasn't like in the mood to work because I'd been in the home office quite a bit. But traveling down the roads, the straightaways, sometimes I'll crochet just to keep the routine of doing something while going down the road. And it's a low-tech way to practice not getting car sick while doing something in the passenger seat. And I call it my travel crochet. Lately, I haven't been doing either computer work or crochet while traveling down the road. So it's August through October, the next few weeks of intense travel. I'm thinking that I'll have to teach my body again to avoid all this nausea. It's just a challenge that I'll go through. And I've noticed that lately, my time in the passenger seat has reverted to like a trance-like state where I do a lot of thinking, clearing my mind. It's almost like meditation. And it's been fantastic. I've really been able to relax. And I really enjoy this time of self-reflection that I'm doing in the passenger seat. And it just unwinds me so much. But the thing is, it's terrible for Robert, who's doing all the driving, because I hardly say a word. He needs me to talk to him at times. The radio's not enough. Besides, we don't even listen to the radio most of the time. He needs me to talk to him to keep him awake. And I'm doing a terrible job at that during these trips, and he's doing most of the driving. I'm going to try very, very, very hard to be more chatty and keep him awake, and it'll connect us even more. Who knows? I may become so chatty that he may ask me to tone it down a bit. Well, blending work and travel isn't always these rainbows and unicorns, but with the challenges that are involved, I think it is absolutely worth it. If you really want to do something, you find a way, don't you? You'll experiment until you find what works. You become comfortable with being uncomfortable and enjoy the process of figuring things out. And that's where I'm at. It takes practice to make the mental shift to work on the go and be productive at it. Now, your style of travel may be totally different than mine. Maybe you fly all the time. Maybe you spend weeks in a condo or an Airbnb and blend your work and playtime together. Now, I remember being at Mammoth Cave National Park a few years ago. We were camping there for a few days, and it was one of our nomadic trips. It was such a beautiful place. I loved exploring not only the cave, but just all the area around the campsite. One day when I was sitting at the picnic table at our campsite, and I was busy at work on my computer that early morning, I remember someone walking by and stopped, and we, had a brief conversation. They mentioned that they thought it was so terrible that I had to work on my vacation. I thought about it for just a moment, and then I told them that I thought it was so wonderful that I could be anywhere to work and make every day a vacation to explore what's around me. It's all in perspective. Now, getting those Instagram glamorous beach shots of no stress work from anywhere doesn't come without experimentation. And chances are they don't happen every day. As with anything else in life, there'll be good with the bad. But for me, I wouldn't change any of the challenges and the freedom to figure those challenges out so that I may have the opportunity to live the lifestyle that only 10 years ago was just a dream. Also, you should know, I have a wonderful team backing me so that I'm not doing literally everything in the business. With my team taking the bulk of the details of publishing content, I can focus on the message and also focus on client work and problem solving. That's what I'm proud of, that Scrivener Solutions does that for our clients. Give them the freedom in their schedule as the team takes care of the details of publishing their content, leaving them to focus on their mission, their clients, their growth, and even more time for the fun stuff in their life. Our clients love that they don't have to manage a ton of independent contractors or employees, and they can tap into our experience and our processes to keep them consistent with content publishing, helping them build their brand. Now, the Scrivener Solutions team can onboard only one client a month for their done-for-you service package. We only onboard one at a time because we're proud not to be a huge agency. What's important to us is that we take the time to get to know each of our clients well enough in the beginning so that we can learn to represent them well online. We want them to look and sound good. We want to be productive for them. And if you're ready for a content team so that you can free up your time and do other things and wondering how it all works, it's easy to just go over to the scrivenersolutions.com website and go to that contact page, and you can schedule right there a time for you and me to have about a 30-minute chat. I'll tell you how it's all done, how it works. Well, thanks for being here with me today. I hope that this has been helpful for you to hear that if you are having challenges blending travel with work schedule, you're not doing it wrong. You just need to continue to view all experiences as learning opportunities and see how to make improvements in the future. Don't expect things to be at the exact productivity schedule and level as when you're at a stationary office and on an office schedule. Enjoy the process. Embrace the challenges as learning opportunities. Like I said, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's how we grow. Well, until next time, have a fantastic week.